All right, let's get to some headlines from across the state of Texas here on this March 4th, 2024. We're going to start with news from the UIL State Executive Committee last week. They had a state executive committee meeting last week.
That sounds like a blast.
And they always, so these are relatively regular meetings.
Yeah, I think they're quarterly, maybe
I think
not.
they're even more. I think they'll come up. I mean, I get emails for all of them, so it's more than
quarterly.
It's whenever they need decisions made, and so the and these are meetings that we don't usually bring up,
right?
Because they're usually not all that interesting, or they're too far in the weeds. It'll be about like one player's eligibility.
Yeah, where it's a singular thing and not a statewide agenda item.
And like, I hate to say it, but like if a play, like unless it's like a 4 or 5 star player who's going to really impact the landscape of Texas high school football, just not going to make waves from a statewide perspective.
Well, and for us, we might be interested in it, but we don't need to relay that to the public because it's not interesting to the public.
Exactly right. You can find them. They're all public on the UIL website. But they had a state executive committee meeting last week, and there was one particular topic, one particular agenda item that really caught our eye, and it was about potential violations by Galena Park North Shore, and specifically their former offensive coordinator, Andrew Cameron. And the allegations were related to recruiting, illegal recruitment of players. There was a meeting. You can watch the meeting. We've got it linked on TexasFootball.com. And Andrew Cameron, who's no longer the offense coordinator, I believe no longer with Galena Park ISD, goes out there and admits it and says, yeah, I recruited players or attempting to recruit players to Galena Park North Shore to play there. He said he owned up to it. He said that he was acting alone. He was not acting on behalf of anybody. He focused. He admitted to in the hearing to recruiting players from area schools. The UIL then more or less dropped the hammer on Andrew Cameron and suspended him for 3 years from participating in UIL activities. They also hit head coach Willie Gaston with a suspension for the first 2 district games.
Which I think one of those is Atascocita, isn't it?
I would need to look. It might be.
Because that's a pretty big game.
But those for those infractions, essentially, the UIL ruled that the program was not at fault, but because ultimately Willie Gaston is in charge and it happened under his watch, that he can't be blameless in this.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. If they would have tried to suspend him for all of district play, then that's a much dicier thing. But the first 2 games at least, and it's district games, which actually matter. Not that non-district doesn't, but...
So there's a couple of parallels that I need to draw here that I think are interesting. 'Cause the 2 most recent examples that spring to mind of a similar kind of situation would be Richland Springs and San Marcos. Now, with Richland Springs, they suspended Jerry Burkhart, the head coach at Richland Springs, for 3 years,
right?
From participating because they ruled that he was
the one that was in contact.
He was the one who was overseeing any sort of illegal recruitment of players to Richland Springs.
Which I think with that one, they had text messages or phone calls from him.
They had some. I believe
they had hard evidence at some point that he was the one contacting him.
The other one is San Marcos, and San Marcos was hit with a program penalty of that I believe some individuals were suspended, but also they caught a postseason ban.
Yes.
And where they said, no, you cannot participate. You're ineligible for the postseason. The reason for that, we're told by the UIL, is because that was considered more of a systemic program-wide issue. If you want to consider you go to NCAA terms and stuff like that, you would talk about like a show cause and stuff like that.
Because that one had not just one, like with the Richland Springs one, it was one individual player that was contacted by the coach, which is kind of mirroring what this North Shore one is. But with that one, it was literally like 20 some odd kids moving in from one very specific area coming in.
Yes.
And so it was like, that's a program
There
one.
are differences here. I think Matt Stepp and I are going to talk about this on our next episode of Tep and Step coming this month, because I want to kind of dive into this, because a lot of the like thought process was like, a lot of the reaction to this was like, well, of course they're recruiting and stuff like that. And of course, like all these other big name programs that are always successful, that always have blue chip prospects, of course they're recruiting. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm not naive to think that there is nothing going on.
Right.
But I also tend to believe in the idea of if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, and I think that that's a huge thing, because I think that now maybe if you want to say, oh, well, that means that they were recruiting early on. Okay, look, I'm not the one to call anybody out on that. I don't know. I don't want to know, honestly. I hope that people don't do that. But if you want to say, oh, yeah, but you're right, after 4 or 5 years of continued success, those kids end up going, I want to go play there.
Correct.
And so, yes, but maybe it's hairy in the beginning. I don't know. That's not for me to decide.
From the Andrew Cameron perspective there at Galena Park North Shore, again, I believe there were text messages or DMs,
Twitter
that were
DMs,
leaked, basically, that another coach, that basically,
I think the
he
kid
had reached
posted
out via
it.
DM, and then
that
kid
sent it to his coach,
who then published it and stuff like that. So there were receipts there. There's got to be paperwork, and I understand that you know, people are going to believe what they want to believe. Again, I want to talk about this on Tep and Step with Matt Stepp, because I really want to get his perspective on this. But it is obviously noteworthy, and it is a big name program getting hit with this. If this was a lot of other programs that hadn't won 3 titles since 2018, this would be a different conversation. But as a result, it is big news that Galena Park North Shore hit with recruiting violations there. We will continue to follow the story if there are any other developments with regards to that. So keep an eye on that one. A couple of other things from across the state of Texas. There were some high school football coaching changes. Henrietta has hired Frisco offensive coordinator Jay Jones to be their next head coach. He's replacing Michael Johnson, who left to become the offensive coordinator.
That's a good get.
Granbury. Frisco offensive coordinator Jay Jones, the next head coach at Henrietta. As well as Holland has hired Skidmore Tynan head coach Heath Homan to be their next head coach, taking over for Brad Talbert, who retired. Big shoes to fill, because he had been there for a long time. Hi, Ava. It's good to see you.
Okay, get down.
Dayton has a new head coach, and it's a familiar name, Jerry Prieto. Jerry Prieto, you may remember.
Oh, he's going again. I missed that one.
So he led Crosby to the state championship game in 2020. This past year he was the head coach at Lake Worth. Went 6-5 in that time. He is now heading back down to the Southeast Texas area, going to be the next head coach at Dayton.
And that's interesting, because we thought that he was moving up here for family. I thought maybe not.
A big move here. East Bernard. We talked about East Bernard coming up, and Wade Bossy kind of moved into an administrative role within East Bernard ISD. East Bernard comes open. They have hired Jeremy Jenkins. Jeremy Jenkins, the Harmony head coach, who did terrific things there at Harmony, kind of getting
team
them,
of the year 2 years ago.
Yeah, getting them off the mat. There before he was at Tennehoff 2020 and 2021. This is a guy who has been very, very successful, including that surprise state semifinal appearance back in 2022, like the little team that could. Basically, there in 2022. But Jeremy Jenkins is now going to be the next head coach there at East Bernard. Some college football news. Our own Corey Hogue reports that Mary Hardin Baylor is going to split their defensive coordinator roles. They had head coach Larry Harmon is going to split it between Mark Carey, who's going to be promoted to co-defensive coordinator and will coach linebackers, and Jordan Collins, a new addition to the staff, is going to be co-defensive coordinator and coach the defensive line. Collins, most notably, has been the previous 5 seasons where he's defensive line coach at East Texas Baptist. So Mary Hardin Baylor making some news on their front. Did you watch any of the NFL Combine?
I did not. No. I had a busy weekend.
Did you hear about Xavier Worthy?
Yes, I did. I did see this. Broke the record.
The big headline is probably that Xavier Worthy ran the fastest 40-yard dash in combine history.
4.21.
4.2140 in the 40. Broke
That's
the
wild.
record. He is going to be drafted. I will say that. There's a hot take.
Could you run that fast?
How far?
10 yards.
What a great question. Yes, I could run 10 yards. I wonder, could I run 30 yards in 4.21? You know what I mean?
See, here's the thing. I know for a fact that I couldn't because I am much more of a
Let's see.
distance runner than I am. There's Ava. I'm much more of a distance runner than I am. I'm not explosive.
So extrapolated out, if you were to run a 4.21 in the 30,
1.4, 1.3,
that'd be a 5.640.
5, 6. Okay, yeah.
I think I can do that.
I think I can do that.
I think I can do that.
I used to.
That's
definitely
damning
back
with
in the
faint
day.
praise,
Yeah.
but I think I can do that. I think I can run a 30-yard dash as fast as Xavier Worthy ran a 40-yard dash.
Okay. Mallory, if you're sitting upstairs, can you cut that real fast so we can make that happen?
I think so. I think I can do that. 5.6. I think I can run a 5.640.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I can run a 5.640. I'm old.
You
but
run, too.
I run.
Like,
I'm trying to be in shape.
yeah.
Okay, one more thing before we go, and that's something to do with the NCAA. So the NCAA, the Rules Committee met on Friday, and they formally proposed a variety of new policies. The three biggest ones that are going to get a lot of headlines, two of them I think are good. The first is that they're going to give players headsets. Much like the NFL, if you don't know, if you watch the NFL, one player has like a green dot on his helmet. That's because he has a radio that he can get the plays from the sideline. He can have communication with the sideline via a radio. This instead of holding up the big signs with your face on it, right, with the WTF logo on it, instead they'll be able to just like get the radio in the call.
I wonder if we'll see the signs vanish completely, or they'll probably have them still as backups in case someone doesn't get the full call.
Yeah, I wonder. It'll be interesting to see where they go with
Well,
that.
also, too, I mean, shoot, from my perspective of being a technology person, as great as it is, I also wouldn't trust it. I would continue to use the cards because if by chance you're having headset issues, what are you supposed to do? Like, and then they're not going to be used to the cards. I would keep them.
So that is coming. Coach-to-player communications is coming, a la the NFL. I don't think there's any problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Secondly, they're going to allow tablets on the sideline. Yes. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. That feels very natural and something they should do. The third one is what I want to talk about. Did you see this? Did you hear about this?
You hear about this, Kev?
They want to add a 2-minute warning.
College football is long enough.
Why are we extending time? An additional timeout at the 2-minute mark of the second and fourth quarters.
Every single marketing person across NCAA campuses just went, ugh.
Let me tell you guys something. And they're trying to say that this is going to help sync up all the time rules and stuff like that. Let's be real about why this is happening.
That's just more TV money.
It's another commercial break.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. And I don't want to be an alarmist here or defeatist, but I don't know if I've seen anything this offseason that I think has made college football a better game for fans.
No.
I think the game is getting worse for fans, and this is another example of that. The 2-minute warning is needless. Mm-hmm. It's needless in the NFL. Mm-hmm. It's needless in college football.
Yeah, you already have and here's the other thing, just knowing this because I've done so many like emceeing gigs and stuff, when you have like those TV timeouts too are not always like, okay, if you're going to be on ESPN Plus, your TV timeouts usually for college is about 2 minutes or so. When you start getting into, if you are on big ESPN, if you are on Fox, if you're on this, it is shocking how long those timeouts are. I mean, some of them can get up to like 3 minutes and 30 seconds just for a normal called timeout. Half the time the team's standing there twiddling their thumbs.
So it's, I think it sucks.
That's pointless.
I don't think that's a positive move for college football. One thing that I will be very interested in is UIL does not use an NFHS rulebook. They use a NCAA rulebook. Mm-hmm. So if it's NCAA, they use it in high school football. I am interested to see if the UIL takes over, something like that.
Which, I'm sorry, doesn't need to happen too. The half times are already 30 minutes, and we love our band people. That's why we have half times that are 30 minutes. I'd rather give that time
to the band.
Yes. We do not need to extend. Yeah, God, I hope that does not happen.
Anyway, I think it's bad, and it stinks, and I don't think we need the 2-minute warning. I don't think there's not a safety issue there. There's no, I don't know. I think it's bad. So there are some headlines from across the state.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.